You know when someone tries to tell you you're doing something wrong, only to then screw it or something similar up themselves? Yeah, turns out people have been doing that for thousands of years. Salve, viatores, and welcome back to Let's Translate Phaedrus Fables. I'm translating through several of Phaedrus Fables from the original Latin, and then giving my thoughts on them. Here are all of the fables that we'll be going through. Today is Passer ad Laporum Conciliator, the advisor Sparrow to the hare. Sibi non cavere et alis consilium dare stultum esse paucis ostendemus versibus. So this sentence is kind of a little backwards for us. It's fine for the Latin, but for us it's going to be weird. But let's just tackle it from the beginning. Sibi is a reflexive pronoun in the dative case for oneself, basically. Cavere comes from caveo. It means to beware. Most famous example that I know of is the mosaic of a dog in front of one of the houses in Pompeii that says cave canem, beware of dog. So for oneself, non cavere, and this is of course in the infinitive as I marked it, to not beware, or maybe watch out for, but let's do beware for now. That's the general definition that I'm used to. Et, and, aliis, from alios, meaning other, and this is dative plural. I think it could be ablative plural as well, but it's dative plural here. So for others, concilium, as we saw before, like, I believe it was I think in the previous fable it was there, but it means advice or a plan. Let's say advice because dare comes from do dare, to give. But we're going to refine this as we go. Let's keep it like that for now, but we're going to be changing it after we get through this next line. Stultum, from stultus, means foolish or dumb, if we want to be a little more blunt about it. Esse is, of course, the infinitive from sum, to be. Paucis is an adjective from paucus, as you could probably tell by the line I drew, showing that it's an adjective modifying versibus. Paucus means little or few. Ostendemos is our main verb, second to last word in the sentence, and there's the main verb. Latin's a little infamous for that. So, ostendemos, it is from ostendo, ostendere. It means to show or exhibit. And this is first person plural, as you can see from the mus, and it is in the future tense because of the e right there, ostendemos. Ostendo is a third conjugation verb, and so we have our stem, ostend, and then the e shows the future tense. For the first and second conjugations, it would be a bo, ostendbomus, which doesn't sound very good because, it doesn't work like that. But a and e for 4 and 3. Third conjugation, ostendemus, for future tense. So we will show, and paucis versibus, we saw versibus in the prologue. It means verses, as in, like, this is poetry, and it's in meter, in verse. So, in few verses. You may also say a few lines. Basically, it's not going to be super long. Now, this, for oneself to not beware, and for others, advise to give, dumb to be few, we will show in few verses. That is almost incomprehensible. This is why when beginning Latin students just kind of look up the meaning of words, without paying attention to the grammar, it's just not going to make sense. So we have to put it in better word order and figure out exactly what's going on. So first off, I am just going to make this the first part of the sentence, and let's go ahead and just start with the verb, because general word order for English is subject, then the verb. And we've got the subject and the verb right in our verb here. So we will show, and, well, I guess we could say in few verses right here. And stultum, it's kind of the object of ostendemos. We will, but really, esse comes next. We will show in few verses it is kind of implied. Either that or you just, well, I don't know if it's implied or it's just you gotta insert it for it to make sense in English. But we will show in few verses it to be foolish. Honestly, no, I want to make Phaedrus a little harsh. For it to be stupid or dumb. Yeah, let's go with stupid. It to be stupid, and then we can just swap around basically the indirect objects in the dative, sibi and aliis, and put them at the end. So we will show in few verses it to be stupid, not to beware for oneself, though this is why I was like, maybe not beware, to watch out for oneself makes more sense, especially when we get into the actual story with the animals. And let's start with dare, to give, consilium, advice, aliis, to others. Oh, whoop. There we go. Basically, in a short fable, in some short poetry, Phaedrus is using the royal we for some reason, is going to show it's a really dumb idea to try to tell somebody what to do while not being prepared for it yourself. Oppressum ab aquila fletus graves, I think it's actually this way, edentem leporem, well, yeah, actually, really, that's the object. Oppressum is just modifying it. Obiorgabat passer. Let's go to there. Not even finish the line, because that starts some dialogue. So, oppressum is from oppressus, perfect passive participle of opprimo. So it is surprised or suppressed, maybe even oppressed. But really in the context of, I've already told you that leporem is a hare. Aquila, if you know anything about the Roman army, the aquila is the eagle. So really, we're just going to say caught. Ob, preposition meaning from or by aquila, and it's of course the correct case. Ob takes the ablative, by an eagle. Fletus adentem graves. Fletus is like, kind of shouts, lamentations, weeping, crying, that sort of stuff. And why it is fletus here and not the subject is because fourth declension. You gotta always keep an eye out for the fourth declension and not mistake it for a second declension noun. So fletus, let's do crying. Adentum, the nt here plus a noun or adjective ending, it is a present participle. Present active participle from edo, which could be eat, but that's edo versus edo. Edo is to bring forth or to produce. So actually, I guess, yeah, this would be more cries, adentum, producing, and graves, that's the adjective. Graves, from gravis, it's like grave, serious. In terms of sound, it could even mean like a low sound, but I doubt with a rabbit that it would sound low. And looking through the Lewis and Short dictionary, it could also be painful or severe, unpleasant. Let's do painful. Cries producing painful, but of course into the correct word order. Producing, oh, painful cries. And leporem, I already said, from lepos. Wait, right? From lepos? That's a weird way to decline a word. What? Declension? Third declension. Oh, that's so weird. Yeah, the nominative is lepos, and then everything else declines as you see here. Leporis, lepori, leporem. That's weird. Huh. Unknown etymology as well. Sorry, I'm looking at the Wiktionary page. Perhaps not an Indo-European word. Maybe Iberian origin. Related to Messaliotes Liberis. Interesting. Words are weird. But anyways, so from lepus, leporem is the accusative. So a hare. And of course, word order will be fixed in just a second. I know. Obiorogabat. The ba, imperfect. T, third person singular. From abiorgo. Was I saying abiorgo? Obiorgo? Something like that. It means to chide or scold, chastise. It's weird because I don't feel like any of these definitions really match what's gonna happen, but I guess we'll go with scold, the most common word that I see here. And passer, if any of you have read, I think it was Catullus 2 and 3, his poems involve a little passer, which I have already told you what it means, but it means a sparrow. So, well, also was scolding, and sparrow, passer, that's the subject because it's in the nominative. So, a sparrow was scolding a rabbit. Well, hare. Except this order makes it sound like it's the sparrow that's caught by the eagle producing painful cries. So let's just swap these. There we go. A sparrow was scolding a hare, caught by an eagle producing painful cries. And then it's supposed to be the sparrow speaking then. If I wanted to keep the order of things as they are in the original Latin, then I would want it to be a hare was being scolded by a sparrow. I would want to make it passive, but I don't really want to change the voice. Well, I guess a sparrow was scolding a hare which was caught by an eagle producing painful cries. That, making it a relative clause in the English, makes it definite that it's the hare that's being talked about, rather than the sparrow. And if I recall correctly, it's been a while since I've actually done this, or at least thought in this way. I think perfect passive participles you can translate into relative clauses. So I think we'll go with this. A sparrow was scolding a hare, which was caught by an eagle, producing painful cries. Let's do that. Ubi pernicitas nota inquit illa est. I guess technically to be is weird. To be is very weird. for marking up, in my opinion. I just don't know exactly what to do with it. But anyway, quid, I think it's technically an adverb here. Ita cesarunt pedes. Yeah? I think that's the subject. So, ubi, where, adverb meaning where. So where, pernicitas nota inquit illa est. Let's use the inquit now. Where, oh, let's also, I'm going to put quotation marks because I like quotation marks. Where it said, there's est, which I forgot to actually mark, is illa, actually, yeah, I guess it's technically illa nota pernicitas is like the whole thing, because the pronoun, illa is a pronoun, it's feminine. That, where is that? Nota is a perfect passive participle from notus. Originally it comes from the verb nosco, but notus, meaning known, recognized, or well-known. You could even say noted. Where is that? I'm going to say well-known. Pernicitas. Pernicitas means speed, or agility, nimbleness, that kind of thing. Honestly, I will just go with speed. Also, I need... Hello, there we go. So, ubi pernicitas nota inquit illa est, where, it said, is... I'm just doing very poorly with all the typing today. Where, it said, is that well-known speed. Wait, doesn't the quotation mark need to be there? There we go. Quid ita cesarunt pedes. And, wait, did I... Yeah, I did. Quid is an adverb. I was trying to make sure I had circled it. Because quid, I normally think of as what, but I believe in... Yes, in the previous fable, Lupus et Agnus, we saw quid being used as how. Here, we're seeing it being used as why. Why, ita, thus, or so, I'm going to say so, cesarunt, that's the third person plural perfect active, indicative, from ceso, which means to stop. Why so stopped? Pedes, nominative or accusative plural from pes, which means feet. Why so stopped feet? That sounds funny. Why so stopped feet? But why have your feet stopped so? Basically, that's what it's supposed to be. I inserted a couple words. Why have your, because it's their feet. They just haven't, Phaedrus didn't actually put a your, probably because of meter. I might exclude it if I wanted to put my translation into meter, which I don't, because I will remind you, for those that did not watch the prologue episode, I am terrible at scanning, I'm terrible at Latin poetry, so I'm just not bothering, I'm just translating into prose. But this is in iambic hexameter. If you want to scan and try to put a translation to the meter, then all the more power to you. I am terrible at it, so I'm not even going to try. But either way, quid ita cesarunt pedes? Why have your feet stopped so? Dum loquitur ipsum accipiter necopinum rapit. Questuque vano clamitantem interficit. Here's where the karma is. Dum, adverb for while. I don't know if you could use it for, like, a long while. This is more like while something is happening. So while, loquitur, from loquor, while it spoke, the sparrow specifically, because that's the last subject. Accipiter, ooh, this is something that I wanted to talk about since I had site translated this. So accipiter is a hawk. Which one? Different nominative, because third declension, of course. But the etymology of it is fun, because it takes its name from accipio, which is another Latin verb meaning to take or seize. So it's kind of like a hawk is called like the one who seizes. It's, of course, that's not the entire etymology. It does get more like a swift wing kind of. It does have basis in Proto-Indo-European as meaning like a swift wing, but I like how it at least takes some from accipio, because, you know, hawks, they just go and they grab, they seize. I think it's fun. But anyways, accipiter, that can only be nominative singular, so a hawk. Ipsum, from ipse, itself, but accusative, necopinum, is agreeing in gender numbered case with ipsum, and is an adjective from necopinus, meaning unexpected, or really I would think unexpecting. Unsuspecting, careless, yeah. And rapit, from rapio. This is the word where it means to take or seize, similar to accipio, but in a more violent manner. So a hawk, I already used caught with oppressus, so let's do seized, because rapit is perfect tense. No, it is present tense. I was like, wait a second, no it's not. Seizes, ipsum necopinum, the unsuspecting one. Itself? Do I want to do itself for the ipsum? Yeah, let's do that. Just to a little more emphasis on the one that is unsuspecting. It gets caught itself while, you know, berating the rabbit. And the que suffix means and. You essentially just put it before the word that it's part of. Questu is the ablative singular from questus, which is a perfect participle from queror. Either that or just a noun, fourth declension noun. In fact, no, it has to be the noun, because fourth declension. Otherwise, if it was the participle, it would be questo. So, questu, noun, meaning complaint. And wano is from wanus, which means vain, empty, kind of useless. So, ablative with vain complaint. Clamitantem, from clamitans, which is present participle, we see again the nt plus third declension ending. And that means yelling, shouting, clamoring. Let's do... Ooh, can I do screaming? Ooh, yeah, let's make it harsh. Screaming. And interficit. Sometimes you might hear that Latin has a ton of words for death and murder, for killing. This is another one of those from interficio. So, do I want to do slaughter, though? I like the word slaughter. Either that or ripped apart. English also has a lot of ways to say. I feel like just languages in general probably just have a ton of ways to describe death and killing. I'll just do killed. Wait, no, kills. I'm so used to the perfect tense. But no, it's present here. But of course we got to put this into the correct word order. And it kills, and then go to our accusative, clamitantem, screaming. But really, it kills the screaming one, or the one screaming. Ooh, let's do the one screaming with vain complaint. So now the sparrow got caught. and is being ripped apart by a hawk. It honestly feels more like he's making fun of the rabbit than trying to give him advice while not caring for himself. Lepus semi-animus mortis in solacio. I guess I could put this in the prepositional phrase, maybe? I'm gonna just have it start at the preposition. So, lepus. Yeah, we're seeing the nominative right here. The hair, semi-animus. So, animus is like your mind, your spirit. Semi-animus, like half mind, half spirit, or even half alive. Or if you want, glass half empty, half dead. In fact, it's just an adjective. Let's put it before hair. The half dead hair. Mortis is from mors, which means death, like just the concept of death. And it's genitive singular, so of death. In just means in. But of course, it means in or on if it has the ablative for the word it's using for its preposition. If solacio was solacium, then it would be into or onto. But here it's solacio. And solacio, from solacium, means comfort, relief, or solace. So really, in the solace of death. The half-dead hair in the solace of death is gonna say something. That's what the colon is there for. Qui modo. I don't know what to do with securus. Let's just leave it there for now. Nostra heredibus mala simili querera falta deploras tua. So, qui, relative pronoun. Who, modo, means only or just. And like I said, only, not like wholly. For some reason, I don't know why I thought I said wholly, or at least sounded like I might have said wholly, but only or just, like just doing something. Seguros means secure, and it's an adjective. And with it having the us ending, this has to be something that's second declension nominative. But of course we don't have that here. So it's kind of modifying heredibus, which you could, as you could probably tell, is second person singular, imperfect. It's our verb, and it's just using the verb as the implied subject because it's just you. So I guess I can mark it like that? I don't know. It's weird. Nostra, you may recognize from the phrase Mare Nostrum, which that means our sea, referring to the Mediterranean by the Romans. So nostra is our, and it is matching in gender, number, and case to mala, so it is our, mala, from malus, malum? Yes, from malum. Malus would be the adjective of bad, but malum is like a bad thing. So let's have the verb first, actually. Who just, actually, since it's you who just, or really, who was just heredeo, which is the first person singular present active indicative form of heredibus. It means to laugh at, mock, make fun of, which that's a better description than what the moral is supposed to be. You who were just ridiculing or mocking. I think mocking makes more sense. Who were just mocking. Well, you secure securus. As you could probably tell, it's another word that's very similar. Actually, maybe not secure, actually. It can mean secure, but it could also be carefree or negligent. Well, let's see. Who is just mocking nostra mala, it could be bad or evil, but it could also just be misfortune. Malum, just a bad thing. So we'll go with misfortune here, because misfortune is a bad thing. You, who was just mocking our misfortune. It's not actually a participle, it's just an adjective. Maybe you being careless? You who was just mocking our misfortune. I almost want to make it an adverb. Like carelessly. But it's not an adverb in the Latin. So I'm not going to do that. I guess, really... I guess you careless one, but that feels like it should be in the vocative case, if it was that. Maybe something like that. You, carefree, who was just mocking our misfortune. Oh, that works, actually. That sounds good. Okay. And then, simile querela fata deploras tua. Deploras is our verb. Let's actually go with that. Well, no, let's take it. Let's be consistent, at least within the video. Let's start with each word and define them. So simile is from similis, which means similar. It's an adjective, and this is the dative form. So I guess to similar. Querela. Wait, is it dative? No, it's ablative. So with a similar. Querela. It is a noun for complaint or grievance, a lament. Let's go with a lament. With a similar lament as feminine, simile, doesn't it just kind of have the same form for all three genders? In the genitive, yes. In the nominative, accusative, and vocative, no. But, so genitive, dative, and ablative, it is the same throughout all three genders, so we're good. So with a similar lament, fata is fate. And this is not like uppercase proper noun, the fates. When looking up fata on Wiktionary, you will find that, and that it's in the plural, but it is not. I mean, I guess it technically could be, but it's not capitalized. So it's not like the fates, it's just fate. From fatum, which is actually a second declension neuter noun. So the nominative and accusative plural have the a ending. So this is accusative plural, which tua, same thing, because it comes from tuus. Well, tuus is the masculine, tuum is for neuter, and of course, nominative and accusative plural, tua. So with a similar lament, fate. Oh, but it's either fates, or in the plural, it could mean death. So let's say your death, deploras. Second person, of course. And that's like to lament, bewail, bemoan, complain about. Let's say you bemoan. Yeah, I like bemoan. And of course, better English word order. You bemoan your death with a similar complaint. Yeah, I think that's fine. So you, carefree. So you, carefree, who was just mocking our misfortune, you bemoan your fates / death with similar complaint. But honestly, this is a very comedic setup. I find it a very funny story where Rabbit getting snatched and probably ripped apart, seeing as the hair is half dead at the end. And this sparrow, for some reason, is just making fun of it while it's dying. And then just, I could see just the hawk coming up from behind it, just while it's laughing at the hair, and then shoop, like mid-sentence. It's very cathartic and a bit humorous. This is part of the reason why Phaedrus is definitely very right that these stories can be very humorous. And this is definitely a moral that has stood the test of time, like Lupus Adognos' moral. This one still definitely resonates. Not as seriously, I would say, but definitely just going against the do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. Maybe not quite that, but the trying to tell someone they're doing something wrong and then screwing it up themselves. I enjoyed this fable quite a bit. So, yeah. And I hope you all did too. But of course, before ending off, we're going to do a little Latin reading and English reading. Sibi non cavere et aliis consilium dare, stultum esse paucis ostendemus versibus. Oppressum ab aquila fletus et dentem graves, leporum obiurgabat passer. Ubi pernicitas nota inquid illa est. Quid ita cesserunt pedes? Dum loquitur, ipsum accipiter necopinum rapit. Questuque vano clametantam interficit. Lepus semianimus mortis in solacio, qui modo securus nostra heredebas mala, simili querella fata deploras tua. We will show in few verses it to be stupid not to watch out for oneself and to give advice to others. A sparrow was scolding a hare which was caught by an eagle, producing painful cries. Where, it said, is that well-known speed? Why have your feet stopped so? While it spoke, a hawk seizes the unsuspecting one itself, and it kills the one screaming with vain contempt. The half-dead hare, in the solace of death, you, carefree, who was just mocking our misfortune, you bemoan your death with a similar complaint. If you made it here to the end of the video, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this fable. I hope that you've watched the other fable videos before this, which is just the prologue and the first one, but still, and I hope you'll watch more, especially the next one, because the next one, it's kind of a funny story, but the moral is questionable, and it's just kind of weird. But anyways, until next time, spay and neuter your pets, and valete viatores.